News.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the New News. I'm Andrea Lutz. A continuing disagreement between residents of a Helena Valley subdivision and their water provider. We'll have that story in a bit. But first, on Capitol Hill, senators are adding amendments to the massive $1 trillion infrastructure bill. Here's today's leading look. The bill calls for $550 billion in new spending over 5 years. The two amendments easily will go with 60 votes, and a final vote could come within days of the final legislation, but that needs 60 votes to pass in the Senate. It faces a tough road in the House, where lawmakers disagree over the price tag of the plan. A new report says the United States ranks among the last when it comes to high-income countries and health care. The study ranked 11 wealthiest countries. The U.S. finished last in 4 of those areas and was the only country surveyed not to offer universal health care coverage. Gallatin County Commission unanimously voted to put a $29 million bond on the general ballot election this November to replace the county's current Law and Justice Center. Voters will determine the fate of the bond to allow for replacing the current center with a new single-story 57,000 square foot building where it will be housed. Fire crews are taking advantage of this week's change in the weather to gain some advantage over the Boulder 2700 fire near Polson. Property damage includes 8 primary structures, homes and cabins, and 15 secondary structures. The fires burned more than 1,400 acres. The annual Empty Bowls Dinner fundraiser. It's returning to the Butte Civic Center. The goal is to not send children home from school for the weekend without having something to eat. And Catherine Mertz, born and raised in Great Falls, has been crowned the new Mrs. Montana. She has deep roots in Montana, with 5 generations of her family calling the state home. And that's your leading look.
Well, we still have the possibility of seeing some showers and maybe some isolated severe thunderstorms. Let's take a quick look. Latest update here from Missoula, Great Falls, Bozeman, Billings, even as close to Miles City, Glasgow, where we have a chance to see some gusty winds in excess of 40 miles an hour today. We could actually see some small hail as well. That threat kind of lessens tomorrow, staying more to our west, and then it moves its way over to our east as we get into Friday. We'll take an in-depth look at those storms coming up in just a bit.
Last week, we told you about the continuing disagreements between residents of a North Helena Valley subdivision and their water provider. On Tuesday, the Montana Public Service Commission directed the subdivision to make more water available. Members of the PSC said it's clear that NorthStar subdivision hasn't been providing adequate water service, but they disagreed about the best way to address current issues that have led to watering restrictions. The subdivision has been under a no outdoor watering rule for several weeks. On Tuesday, the commission voted for a proposal from Commissioner Jennifer Fielder, directing that homeowners should be able to use water outside for 30 minutes every other day through September 30th.
The amendment that I've made is basically to try to get some relief to these citizens.
Commissioners voted down a second motion that would have implemented fines for homeowners who repeatedly violated watering restrictions, and fined NorthStar if they failed to make more water available. During the meeting, commissioners heard from NorthStar residents frustrated by the limits on landscape watering.
I'm tired of hauling water. Yesterday, I actually took a truckload of jugs from McDonald Pass. I brought 30 gallons home to my house so that I could keep my trees alive.
They also heard from representatives for NorthStar, who say the issue isn't a lack of water, it's a distribution pump. They say they understand residents' frustrations, but that the current restrictions are in place because the pump burned out last month, and their water operator is concerned that loosening the outside watering rules would put too much pressure on the system.
Just so everyone in this room understands, his recommendation is not to do that because we're working on a backup pump, and the only reason we're doing that is because he went down to get a pump, and there was none on the shelf. If there was, we would have fixed it and we would be on it every other day.
Commissioners said the PSC's directive can be halted if the homeowners agree it's a bad idea. Fielder said that should be based on discussions between the residents and NorthStar. Commissioner James Brown, the chair of the PSC, voted against the directive, saying he didn't disagree with its goal, but that he felt the commission hadn't been given enough information to make a good decision. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
Up next, Miller Robson's back in with a look at that statewide weather forecast. Plus, we are checking in on the cherry harvest while fire crews battle that fire near Polson. We'll have that story just ahead.
The MTN Noon News continues right after this.